How desire breaks you down and how to overcome the effects of desire. Have you ever wondered why one never seems to reach one's goals? It may seem initially that everything is going so smoothly, and then suddenly it's like pressing your head towards a brick wall, and everything you desire and dream to acquire ends up in failure. Some people may manage to get back on track again, but others, being unable to cope with one's desires, seem to get lured into the trapping of desires, unable to move forward. So how come? Well, to understand desire and how it works in our life, let us see how desire is described in the great novel from 1925 written by Scott Fitzgerald under the title The Great Gatsby. The book begins with a post-war World War I feeling of restlessness and uprootedness, combined with a dream of new opportunities. In the novel, everything is speeding up, and even the natural world is called into question as people's vision of what's real and unreal in nature becomes blurred. Leaves on summer trees, for example, are growing the same way things grow in fast-forwarded movies. People look perfect, but slightly dehumanized, and their identities overlap. Desire, which outwardly creates differences, turns people into doubles and thereby leads us into distorted individuality. The paradox, however, is that the urge for individuality is slowly turning everyone into clones, where even males and females are less and less distinguishable. For Gatsby, wealth is something mysterious. Fitzgerald explores what desire money may mean to a person without a wealthy background. Thus, J. Gatsby has had to make enormous emotional and moral sacrifices in order to arrive where he is. Although Gatsby is living a delusion, he perceives in a flash that Daisy's charm and sentiments are founded purely on money. Her voice is full of money, he said suddenly. That was it. I'd never understood before. It was full of money. That was the inexhaustible charm that rose and fell on it, the jingle of it, the symbol's song of it. In a famous scene taking place at the Plaza Hotel in New York, Gatsby's rivalry with Tom, Daisy's brutal husband, gets so intense that Gatsby seems to have reached a stage of madness, at which there are no longer any objects present, only desire. Behind his self-image, his sense of being a son of God, lies the most intense desire to belong to the elect, with the same status as the super-rich. Gatsby is then mercilessly ripped off his role, being cruelly exposed to his real background. After Tom Buchanan having revealed Gatsby's poor and miserable background, Gatsby is left devoid of any dignity. He has reached a stage which one can call metaphysical desire. This means that there are no objects left, only the fight towards the other. Desire is initially a weakness. It consists of an urge to acquire something which one thinks others have. The core of desire lies in the notion that if one acquires what the other person seems to have, one will be fulfilled. However, by desiring what others have, gives a feeling of being hindered in reaching our goals by the other. We do not consider the fact that the other either desires the same object, and the last thing he or she will do is let us have it, or we will begin desiring the subject's desire, and thus compete with the subject for it. In all cases, rivalry will have the upper hand, and the chance of achieving the desired object is minimal. The main weakness of desire is the fact that we are not only unable to fulfill the goals set out, so often our goals end up the opposite of what we expected. So at the end of the novel, the level of Gatsby's desire has reached such a pitch that he seems to have lost sight of his main object, Daisy Buchanan. In the scene where he is waiting around Tom's estate, there are indications of a development towards madness. His vision that he can repeat the past seems to have made him lose contact with any rational, worldly reality. The imitation of each other's desire is the process that may be viewed as the pulse that drives the plot in this novel. The novel culminates in a car crash where all previous desires suddenly come together in one event and constitute what may be considered a typical modern sacrificial scene in which violence is engendered indirectly and at random. So while the romantics extolled in the glories of nature, the post-romantic world represented in The Great Gatsby gradually changes into a ghostly world in which nature becomes something grotesque. Nick Carraway, the storyteller, speaks metaphorically of the earth lurching away from the sun. The earth is described as stumbling inelegantly and erratically away from the sun, which indicates that the earth no longer has any real life source to which to grow. At the end, Nick tries to enter Gatsby's haunted mind the day after the car accident. He tries to imagine how unreal Gatsby must find the new world into which he has been thrown so brutally. The sunlight seems raw and leaves seems frightening, as if experiencing a world that is material without being real.